Welcome to the weekly live broadcast of Turtle WoW News with Vrograg. I'm your news anchor orc, Vrograg Fishlayer, here to bring you all the top server news for the week of March 11th, 2025. I'm the orc, and here's the news. Top server news this week: server instability plagued the Turtle network following the March 4th changelog. It kicked off when normal maintenance downtime of about 15 to 20 minutes was extended out to nearly 2 hours on Tuesday of last week. Then, after less than 1 hour of uptime, crashes started happening on the servers. The team valiantly tried to keep things going through Tuesday, with many back and forths of being up and down. 5 full hours after the initial scheduled maintenance downtime, Torta made an announcement that the March 4th update would need to be reverted. During this period of time, there was stability once more, but less than a day later, more instability cropped back up on the evening of the 5th. There were several crashes for Tel'abim and Nordanaar, even requiring more developer intervention, lasting roughly 12 hours when a final fix was pushed to the server. It would seem that this final fix used select parts of the original changelog for March 4th, but not in its entirety. For instance, on Nordanaar, as of the time of the writing of this script yesterday, the Horde has access to a hairstylist and Sparkwater port, but not hair dye NPC, while Alliance has a hair dyer and no hairstylist. Word from the team is that the changes that were not integrated from the March 4th changelog should be in for this week's changes if they are not already in. As always, if you're playing hardcore on Turtle, always be careful around server reset time, because there is nothing worse than losing a character to server instability. Hopefully we'll have more stability in the future and a full suite of hairstyling options for both factions. In other top news, this week there was an invasion in Stormwind. On the 7th, news correspondent Sinmaral reported a massive spike in feline activity in the Stormwind Trade District as dozens, perhaps hundreds of cats occupied the town square. Here's the shocking footage of the event going down. People in a 1 mile square radius with cat allergies were reporting discomfort, and all the while the Stormwind town guard seemed unable to stop the flow of cats. Does this mean that the crown needs to earmark more gold for animal control? Or is there a more sinister force at work, just testing the boundaries of what fey magic might be permitted? Until we know more, citizens are advised to leave bowls of milk outside their homes to avoid the wrath of any new packs of cat. And if you hear meowing, do not go outside without a cat treat in hand. Thank you again to Sinmaral for this story. Looking to future content, the community is still without any date for Karazhan 40, but they were treated to a new announcement from Turtle's head of PR, Akalix. This post made on the 6th outlines the state of the Upper Tower of Karazhan patch as nearing the end of its QA phase. Included with the announcement was some new bits of information. There's work being done for more reliable logging system for raiders known as shell stats, and Class Changes 2 is still slated to receive some more upcoming minor tweaks to the current state of classes. And finally, the announcement informed players that the release date for Kara 40 will be out in the next few weeks. So who knows, maybe soon, Kara 40 when segment might finally be over here on the news. One final note for Turtle players: keep in mind this is an international server, and in their infinite wisdoms, the various government agencies decided not only to have daylight savings time, but also have different regions of the world change time at different parts of the year. Much of North America already sprung ahead this last weekend, while much of Europe that recognizes it won't be changing their clocks until the 30th of March. Keep this in mind when coordinating events. That is all the time we have for top news this week. Next up, we have Market Watch. Welcome to Market Watch for this week. I'm your market analyst, Vrograg Fishlayer. All our data is gathered from numbers provided by WowAuctions.net, the #1 industry leader in auction house reports. I throw it all together to make indexes of various market sectors, as well as the S&P 200, an index of the 200 biggest and most influential commodities in the economy. So let's go over to the markets. Over on Tel'abim, the Alliance S&P 200 rocketed up in value on the 5th by more than a gold and held steady, closing at 5 gold 48, up 27%. Meanwhile, the Horde Index remained comparatively calm, down 6% to 4 gold 5 silver. This is a big swing for the warring factions' respective auction houses, with the Alliance now claiming the number 1 spot. Over the last month, we've watched the two markets swap the leader role. The Horde was riding high, but has been steadily trending down, while the Alliance clawed out of a sub-4 gold valuation to now be more than a gold ahead of where it was a month ago. With the two markets being so dynamic, it is hard to discern what is the cause for this shift, but we'll continue to track this trend for more patterns in the future. While watching for market disparities, I noticed a stark difference between the Alliance Enchanting market and the Horde Enchanting market. The Alliance Enchanting market experiences much less volatility than the Horde market, but has much higher highs and lower lows. Looking into the numbers is an interesting story of relative market scarcity and localized pricing for each faction. Illusion Dust, Nether Essence, Eternal Essence, and Large Brilliant Shards are all notably more expensive on the Alliance side, which is enough to push its index into a higher valuation. Despite Horde having slightly higher Nexus Crystal, large and small Radiant Shard costs. Remember, on Tel'abim it is always valuable to do comparison shopping. You never know where you might find discounts. Over on Nordanaar, the market gained 5% value, closing the week at 7 gold 42. Despite extended outages early in the week, the RP PvE server market showed strengthening resolve. This is a nice change from much of the winter where the Nordanaar S&P 200 seems stagnant or depressed at times, and trend lines do indicate that there may be more lowering of the index in the future. Though what future the release of Kara 40 might bring is anyone's guess. Nordanaar miners saw a big spike in prices this week. The index climbed 40%. Many items involved in the mining market are what you might consider penny stocks, like true silver, steel, thorium, and copper. It seems like the singular item responsible for the big index shift was large obsidian shards, jumping from 8 gold to over 12 this week alone. Oddly, a much more cheap commodity had a similar jump in price in gold bars, which likewise had a jump from about 18 silver to just over 35. That is about a doubling of its price. For miners looking to make a mint, be sure to check out niche markets if you're hoping to get the most for each of your pickaxe swings. One final note about Nordanaar for those of you wondering when the herbalism market might finally find its floor, since it's been on a steady decline from all the way back in April of 2024, when an economy update changed the way herbs are gathered. Well, it's been a few months now, and the market has remained relatively flat after nearly a year of roughly losing 50% of its value. This will act as a nice new baseline to project future herb prices, especially with bubbling new speculation about what players will want for Karazhan 40. Seems that the age of herbalist supremacy is over. Now, who will take the crown next? Before we wrap up Market Watch, we'll take a look at how shell coins have been doing on the two servers. Nordanaar shell coin remained flat, trading at 23 gold 99, and in the last 30 days is only down 1%. Tel'abim shell coin gained 10 silver this week, closing at 10 gold 48, and on the month is up 3%. I'll always advise against buying into the shell game of shell coin, but I suppose nothing risked is nothing gained. That is all we have for Market Watch this week. I hope you found some of the information here useful. Make sure to use wowauctions.net for all of your own market research. Remember to keep an eye on your coin, otherwise someone else will for you. Now, let's go check out the Community Bulletin. Welcome to this week's Community Bulletin, a posting and celebration of player-made events and going-ons in your turtle community. Let's see what the players have been up to this week. News came in from the speedrunning community this week, as it seems that Mortality's stranglehold on the records for all 4 40-man raids was finally upset by their old rival, Hard Knock Society. On the 7th, Hard Knock set a new bar with a 1 hour and 5 minute run of Naxxramas, a healthy 5 minutes ahead of Mortality. Not just that, but it seems that Doom Turtles has woken up again, setting a new best time on the 6th. Although the Naxxramas record was broken, Mortality did find time to shave off another 30 seconds off of their AQ40 time on the 7th, breaking the 32-minute mark with 31 minutes and 52 seconds. The speedrunning community will need to be at its best since so many want the prize title for being the first to clear Karazhan 40, and no doubt we'll continue to see many teams honing their strategies to remain sharp for the new raid drop. Best wishes to them, and thanks as always to Vita for maintaining the speedrun archive for the community. Over in the roleplay world, there are many exciting events coming up for people to enjoy. On the 13th, the Ironwill clan is inviting dwarfs and their allies interested in helping out with some simple delivery of packages around Ironforge. Meetup is at Brooks Corner at 9 p.m. server time. Do your part to make Ironforge as orderly as it is great. The Second Gurubashi Empire is christening the victory over Zul'Gurub on the 26th with a fighting tournament for interested aspiring trolls. So make sure to pray to whichever Loa you hold dear and have some coin ready for registration. Expect a true spectacle of troll ferocity as well as groups for chatting and trade. Arrive at Gurubashi Arena at 4 p.m. server time to watch, and if you're interested in registering for the fight, reach out to Morrigan in-game. And finally, in our bulletin, the 15th will be a special event hosted by the Wrath of the Forsaken organization. Representatives from the Forsaken-led organization made note that their kind are all too often seen as odd one out in the horde, but hope to share in their emerging culture with this celebration. There will be food and drinks available, many activities, and a celebration of chasing the winter weather away with the arrival of spring. Horde friends are welcome to join the festivities, and all profits made from the event will be getting donated to help the Wrath of the Forsaken Guild get their guild housing charter. So bring a little extra coin if you're feeling generous. Hope to see you there. As always, keep an eye out on the event channel to keep on top of any fun and exciting new events happening in your community, like how the Nightsong Sentinels this last week spent time handing out alms to high elves suffering from mana addiction. You never know what might be going on around you. It's always the best way to stay in tune with the best part of Turtle WoW, its community. That's all we have for this week's Community Bulletin. Now let's see what's going on with the changelogs. We have 2 changelogs to examine this week, one for the development on Turtle 2.0 and Unreal Azeroth, and then we'll switch over to the normal weekly live server changelog for the week. Let's see how Unreal Azeroth is coming along with this week's changelog roundup. This week's Unreal Azeroth changelog is on the smaller side, though development does seem to be continuing. We can see that there are more efforts being made to integrate cooldown support, like much of what we spoke about last week, but now it's being done for items and pets. I also learned that this particular effort is proving to be trickier than first imagined. Vanilla WoW has many exceptions and oddball cases with items and pets. Best of luck to the team with that one. It looks like what the UA team calls soundification is in the changelog as well. Death Thud is just the client name for the sound a creature plays when it is downed, in case that wasn't clear. One interesting thing to note here, however, is the mention of MCSE no longer being needed, to the chagrin of the developers. MCSE stands for Microsoft Engineer Certification, and Stenarius claims that the sad thing occurred is that the development time was spent to get this certification only to find out that it won't be required for the project. My condolences for having to deal with Microsoft more than absolutely necessary. And finally, to round out the modest changelog, it looks like the Unreal Azeroth team is taking a crack at some of the visuals for Blackrock Spire and Blackwing Lair for their modern mode. I did ask if there are going to be any new assets, like in the pictures of Moradon we saw last week. This area, when you think about it, is pretty massive, including multiple dungeons and a sizable raid. Such visual revamps seem to not be in the cards, as the UA team doesn't have the resources to faithfully reimagine such a large area, so for now they are keeping it more simple and less custom. Alright, that's all for this week's check-in with the Unreal Azeroth team. Now let's check out the changes coming to the live server. We'll be covering the changelog from March 4th, which had 25 separate changes, ranging from class adjustments and fixes to some other bugs. Do note that some of these changes might not be in the game in light of some technical issues that were involved early last week, but team sources say most of them, if not all of them, should be in the game by this week. So let's check them out. Hairstylists and hair dye vendors are back in the game. However, due to a tragic shampoo accident, the arrival of hair experts may be delayed for some time. As the writing of this script, Nordanaar Alliance side has their resident hair dye vendor available, and Horde can find their stylist in Sparkwater Port. However, some NPCs still remain missing on both Tel'abim and Nordanaar, but the ones I was able to track down revealed to me how they'll operate. It looks like getting a new hairstyle will cost 3 fashion tokens, while hair dye will just cost some gold. So if you're waiting, maybe take this chance to stock up so you can get the look you've been waiting for when they're finally in the game. Good news came to the infamous warlocks of Azeroth this week when they learned that their demonic overlords have properly disciplined a band of misbehaving Eye of Kilrogs. As it turns out, the sightseeing summonable pet was refusing to return to the twisting nether from whence it came because the mortal realms are much more interesting to look at. However, after many warlocks complained about their eyes hanging out a little too long, they should once again have the ability to dismiss them as normal. Feral Order Druids recently were given permission to really dig into their ambush predator aspects recently. For a long time, the Fairness and Boss Fight board claimed that bosses would be immune to stun effects and all associated abilities involved with generating stuns. Sadly for Feral Druids, who really only have a few opening moves, one of them being Pounce, this meant that the combo point and bleed effect from it would be wasted on the boss. However, several Archdruids negotiated with the Boss Fairness board and argued that if the stun was ignored, then the bleed and the combo point should still be applied, like a Rogue's Garrote opener. They agreed on the condition that rogues wouldn't come sniffing around for the same treatment with Cheap Shot. Sadly, that is not the case. My complaint is already before the board, but for the time being, thanks Feral Druids for making energy-based combat a little bit more dynamic. And finally, an intrepid explorer by the name of Luna Spira made a discovery in Ungoro Crater last week. Somehow, given the local Lashers population's proximity to dinosaurs, they began exhibiting a mutation where they had skinnable leather on them. Luna Spira made the discovery as an expert skinner and noticed that to the trained eye, some dead specimens had enough leather on them to actually be skinned. A team of druids from Hyjal was sent with support from the Green Dragonflight to correct this unaccounted for mutation. Foul play is not suspected at this time, but is not ruled out since Ungoro is such a strange place. Make sure to report any skinnable plant creatures to the appropriate authorities as this investigation continues. That completes the changelog roundup for last week. This week's changelog may be out soon, so make sure to check it out so you can keep on top of all the latest adjustments coming to Turtle WoW. That's all the time we have for this week's broadcast. I've been Vrograg Fishlayer. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, make sure to subscribe and like the video. I air these live broadcasts on Tuesday at 4:15 Eastern Standard Time, so if you'd like to watch as the news is being made, be sure to drop by. Until then, be good to one another and stay informed, because the deadliest weapon is knowledge.